Hi, I'm Dr. Garima here, and today I'll be talking about how to clear ADC Part 1 by studying by yourself, not requiring any course or something. So, I have just cleared my ADC Part 1 this March, that is 2022. I studied for 5 months. So, let me quickly go through the points. If you are one of the ADC aspirants, that's Australian Dental Council exam aspirants. But first, importantly, why should you listen to me? Well, I have cleared my MFD, RCSI, I have cleared my Specialist Pediatric Dental of Dubai, and now that I've cleared ADC Part 1, everything in first shot. I actually am pretty focused on how to study smartly. Of course, hard work is involved. So I like to give out tips. I'm also an AIPG ranker, that is All India Postgraduate Ranker, 42nd rank in 2010. Again, studied by myself, no courses taken. And I've been always helping out because I know there are many people who are very smart, but they just don't have the right guidance to do so. And I want everyone to have a nice life, especially the dentist from India, because you know the scenario in India. So let me quickly go through the points as to how it can help you clear your ADC Part 1, as it's a very expensive exam, not only the exam fee wise, but the amount of time, energy, and the other things that you have to sacrifice to devote to give the exam are priceless, So it becomes a very expensive exam, because when you are planning to give ADC Part 1, unless you have just finished your BDS and you have some tons of money to directly go for the exam, most of the ADC aspirants are earning members, as in they'll be working either part-time or full-time. They might have kids at home or other familial responsibilities. So it's very difficult to take out time, because that means you are going to sacrifice something. So might as well make it worth it. But even if you don't clear this exam, it's okay. Why? Because the hard work that you're going to put in your study is definitely going to help you in your clinical experience or the way you approach your patient, because it's very updating. When I studied for my ADC Part 1, I thoroughly enjoyed it, because there were so many things that I got updated with, which I wouldn't have. Though I'm a pediatric dentist, and general dentistry was a little sidelined because I exclusively practice pediatric dentistry. So I got a lot updated with the general dentistry. Even general dentists themselves that I've spoken to got updated with a lot of other things, and their approach towards the patient and how you practice changed a bit, for the better, of course. So let's see what we are going to talk about in the video. We are going to talk about what is this exam about, how long you should be preparing, what to study, how to study, what you have to do 3 weeks before the exam, should you join any courses, and what help you can get out of me. So let's start with the first thing. What is this exam about? So this exam is conducted over a period of 2 days. It's an online theory exam. It has centers all over the world. It's conducted by Pearson and View. So this exam has 280 questions, meaning this exam is divided into 4 papers, 2 papers on each day. Once you create your profile on Australian Dental Council portal, which is called as the ADC Connect, the assessment time for you to qualify to sit for the exam itself takes 3 or 4 months. For me, it took 10 months because COVID happened, So hopefully your assessment from start to finish should finish in like 3 or 4 months. And once that is done, they will open the dates for the exam. The exam is conducted twice in a year. It's in March and it's in September. So if suppose you are planning for March 2023, the dates for the exam would be opening in December, and they open only for 2 weeks. So they will send out a notification that the written examination dates are opened. So immediately you have to apply with your initial assessment letter and pay for the exam, which is approximately 2,000 Australian dollars or so. And then you'll get a confirmation that you're enrolled for the exam, and you would be asked to select a center of your choice. Then you select, and mostly the exams would be around 16th, 17th of March and 22nd, 23rd of September, approximately the same dates. So you can choose well in advance as to where you would be if you have to give the exam. Now coming to the examination day, the exam starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. So you have to reach there at 7 o'clock. They do the security checks and all. The exam starts at 8. First paper of 2 hours, break of 1 hour, another paper of 2 hours. Now what is the exam about? It's divided into 4 papers. each paper, they call it as clusters. Each paper has 14 questions. So let me explain you how it looks. There is a big screen on the left hand side, so the screen is split. So on the left side of the screen, there would be one scenario describing like this and this patient came with so and so complaint, and this is the there would be an intraoral picture or an OPG, and they would describe something about it, and if there is a medical condition the patient is suffering from. Now on the right hand side, now from this question, now this left hand side screen stays fixed, so you can always refer to the main question. The right hand side screen would have sub questions. Each question would have 5 sub questions. So first question would be asking what is your diagnosis, or I'm just giving you an example. And they would have 5 multiple choice questions. So you have to select which one is the right answer. Then you click on next. So there would be a second sub question which would be related to this scenario. So all the 5 sub questions would be related to the main scenario. Now here it gets tricky because they can in the sub questions just switch to some other topic, taking this as a base, so because you are in the flow of that, you may attempt the last question wrong. Okay, I'll give you examples about this later on. So don't just flow into the question. Read each and every word very carefully, because when you are attempting, for example, first, second, third question right, you may think the fourth sub question will be also confidently, you may attempt it without reading much, because the sub questions also have long theory to read about, because they are trying to trick you out there. So you have to specifically focus on words like except, including, not including, in children, in general, all those things, because your answers might just change. So each paper 14 questions, each question 5 sub questions. So in all you'll be attempting 70 questions. Now 120 minutes and 70 questions, meaning you don't have even 2 minutes for one question, which means you have to be pretty fast. You cannot waste time on each question, any question. If you're confused, just mark something, move ahead, mark it as referred, flagged kind of a thing. And if you have time at the last, go back and attempt it. Otherwise, just go on, move on, Otherwise, you would leave answering few questions and that would cost you. So it gets very exhausting. Just imagine like 70 questions, an hour's break, another 70 questions, done for the day. You just cannot read anything after that, because you've got up early in the morning, you're finishing by 1 o'clock, and just take a rest on day 1, so you are well prepared on day 2. So this is how the exam is all about. How are you marked? The results are going to come out after 2 or 3 weeks. In our scenario, it came after 3.5 or 4 weeks, I think. There are no markings. So it's grading on percentile system as to how many people attempted, how many right. So they have 4 grades, A, B, C, D. A and B means you pass, C and D means you fail. A means you have attempted 10% more correct answers than the rest of the population. So if the rest of the population has averagely, suppose, say marked 140 correct answers, you have some 160, 170 correct? B grade means you are within the 10% of the correct answers, meaning if rest of the population have marked 140 as correct, you are around 147 or 150 or something. C grade means you are fail, but you were a close fail, as in you may have just attempted 130, 135 correct, but the general marking was 140, hence you failed. D marking means you were less than 10% of the average correct marked answers. So either case, C or D, you fail. So you have to attempt again. So to pass, you have to have A or B grade in all the 4 papers. If you have 3A and 1C, you are still fail, which is, I know, so unfair, but this is how it is. So aim for A. Even if you get B, it's good. I got B in all my papers, but it was the first attempt and I studied by myself, so I'm happy with that. But I understood how it was supposed to be done. So how's the exam per se? So till 2021 September, there was a separate exam pattern, which means that all the people online who were selling books were based on those previous question papers, which were very much repeated. but they changed the exam pattern since September 2021, which means that none of those materials are going to be useful for you in any scenario. Because I myself bought study material from one person and I totally regretted it, because that was all based on the previous exam patterns and nobody had any idea how the exam would be, because exam papers are not given out and the candidates cannot remember much questions after they come out of the exam. So I appeared in March, which was the second change in the pattern, and the September people, I rarely got to know them, so I was not much aware as to how the questions would be. But I had a general idea that there were scenario based questions, because the Australian Dental Council people have put on their website as to how the questions would be. So all that helped was the study that I had myself subjected to, which I will come to now. So that begs the question as to how long should you prepare? Well, see, unless you are a freshly passed out graduate and have all the time in the world, you can prepare for 3 months, but you are studying for 8 hours a day. But if you are somebody like me who has a child at home and you have house responsibilities, clinic responsibilities, social responsibilities, you have to sacrifice social responsibilities because you cannot sacrifice the household responsibilities. I studied for a good 5 months. I studied for 3 hours almost a day. I sacrificed a lot of my weekends because, like I said, this is an expensive exam, and whatever time you can get, you should get, because as a family person, you never know what emergency might come or which day you may not be able to study. So, whatever free hand time you get, just study. Now, what to study? Well, Australian people are very nice, you know. They have mentioned the textbooks that you should be studying from, but of course, you cannot just study from the textbooks because it's not like question and answer. First mandatory to be studied is Therapeutic Guidelines 2019 version. You don't have it, email me, I will email you. Okay, so 2019 version. Second is Infection Control Guidelines, very, very important. Again, you don't have that book, email me, I will send it to you. Odell's Clinical Cases. Now, this is a very, very important book. Like 90% of the exam is based. So, this book, what it consists of, they will give a scenario and they will discuss all the options of treatment that you can provide to the patient. Now, from this huge information that they have provided, the questions are constructed from each and every case and asked in the exam. Hence, this book becomes very important. It's a lot of information to take in. You cannot just read that entire book and expect yourself to remember. You have to go through this book 2 or 3 times and update your knowledge. And you cannot remember everything, so you have to write down your important points, which I have written and made notes of my own. And at the end, I was just studying those notes because they were very important, and they alone helped me clear the exam. So yeah, Odell. Then there is Walton, there is Cameron, and there is Perio Guidelines. Now the recent Perio Guidelines has changed. You know, it's no longer chronic moderate periodontitis or what do you say, locally aggressive periodontitis. Now it's all divided into stages and grades. There is a nice table. You have to memorize that table. It's a very important table, and questions will be asked from them. They were asked in my exam, and it's a very simplified table, but it's a tricky table. So you have to go through that to study the guidelines. You need to know the basic periodontal index scores and that new guideline table, definitely. Without that, don't even sit for the exam. Most important question, how to study? Now, how to study is you start with therapeutic guidelines. Know what the Australian government, Australian Dental Council wants you to have the knowledge of. It's a vast book, as in it's a small book, but there is a lot of practical guidelines as to what to prescribe, when to prescribe, what not to do, what to do. You will take some time to adjust to it. Read it 5 times. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Read it 5 times and make your own notes out of it. Infection Control Guidelines, Odell 3 times. Now, once you are done reading all these things and you have prepared your own notes, and your own notes should be at least more than 60 pages of a good textbook. Okay? Otherwise, you have not studied enough. You will be having those many notes. Once you have those, and this will take away your 3 months easily, then you start solving mock test. They are very important. Like when I took somebody's mock test to solve, I was very glad that I paid for it, because I took one mock test, but then I understood that how the exam is going to be and what silly mistakes I can make. That mock test opened my eyes a lot. So I'm very thankful to have taken the mock test, and I think that was one of the reasons I passed the exam. If I would have just studied with my notes and the textbooks, I would have been confident, but on the day of the exam, I think I wouldn't be that confident as I was because I solved mock test. So 3 weeks before the exam, you must solve mock test. Now, should you pay to join any course? Well, if you want to, because all your friends are joining, go ahead. But when I joined the course, it just screwed my head more because nobody knew how the exam would be, as there was no previous papers available, and the mentor that was not too much involved in spite of being very popular on the Facebook. I absolutely regretted joining the course, and ultimately I just shut that Facebook group because so many people were there. So many different kind of answers were coming which were not appealing my logic, even though I did not have any reference for that, but this is how we had studied and this is what we were applying, and the answers were different to what they were telling us. So I was like, you know what, I will trust my instincts, and that is what I did. And I'll tell you what, in that Facebook group there were 131 people, and only 15 of us passed. And there were so many people who were like repeating, and there were so many people who were like, oh my god, how could we fail? We studied so much, we followed all the mentors guidelines. And I was in my mind, you know what, you followed the mentors guidelines, that's why you flunked. You should have trusted your own instinct. So out of 131 people, if only 15 are passing, and I know out of those 15, at least 5 people who, when we were WhatsApping each other, we were like, you know what, we are not following this person anymore because his logics were not appealing to us. So I'm not saying that you don't join, but even if you join, don't blankly follow somebody, because that somebody has not given the new pattern of exam. That somebody has given the previous pattern, which were very simple question and answer. It's like, what does calcium hydroxide do in pulpotomy in children? The answer is internal resorption. It were that simple questions earlier, but the new pattern is totally different. They don't ask such simple questions. They are very tricky questions. So my suggestion, don't waste so much money there. There are basic textbooks. You don't have them, email me, I will forward it to you. What you should do is mock test, which you can buy from somebody else, or you can approach me, I can help you with them. What you should have is good notes, again, which you can prepare by yourself, or you can approach me and I can help you with them. So yeah, that's about it. If you follow all these methods, I'm sure that you can clear ADC part 1 the way I did. And you can be on your journey on part 2. So I'll be preparing for my part 2 now. And hopefully I should be able to give it next year. I don't know how it's gonna go. A lot of people are saying it's very tough, and of course you have to go to Australia to clear it. But let's see, at least we'll try. Hota hai, nahi hota hai. There is no harm in trying. So that's about it. You can leave me a message here, or you can follow me on Facebook, or you can go to my website to know more about me. My website is www.bestdentistforkids.com. I'm practicing as a pediatric dentist in Dubai. You can find me on Instagram as Dr. Garima Khandelwal. Leave me a message there. I'm always happy to help. I've already made blogs on how to clear AIPG exam. I am an author of MFDR CSI books of all the past papers, and I have sold more than 250 books to help candidates clear. So whatever I've spoken so far is just to help you all clear, as many others have put their videos on YouTube, and looking at them, I'm also inspired. They also helped me in clearing my exams, so hear me giving my tips back. So have a nice day. Bye-bye.